Hi, I'm Kat.
I'm Arden 13.
Welcome to our show, World Tiger.
Building Dragon.
Today we are continuing with some of World Anvil's summer camp prompts.
Summer camp is a program set up by the World Anvil team to promote world building as well as the community in general.
There'll be a total of 33 prompts all throughout the month of July, so if you're looking to win some prizes for your submissions, don't miss out.
World Anvil is a free in-browser tool that has everything that a world builder or a GM may ever need.
They also have some really incredible subscription options, so go check those out as well.
It's totally worth it, totally affordable. If you're interested, please go check them out. But in any case, I think it's time we got to the prompt. Kat, what is the prompt?
Today we get to describe a vehicle that brings joy wherever it goes in our world.
Huh.
It's a little strange.
This is gonna be a challenge. This is gonna be a challenge.
I'm excited for it though.
I'm glad you're excited for it. In the meantime, Kat and I have given ourselves some parameters in order to complete this project. Each of us has 30 minutes to answer the prompt.
Each of our submissions have to be at minimum 300 words.
After the 300 words and our 30 minutes are up, we're going to come back together and share what we came up with.
Some of our best ideas come from collaboration.
That they have. You ready for this?
Yeah.
Let's do
Time
this.
skip!
And we are back.
We're back!
What'd you feel about this one?
I really liked this one. Once I got into it, it did take me a good 5 minutes to really figure out like what I was going for. But once I got started, it was just like, just kept going.
Just kept going. Yeah, I kind of felt the same way. Yeah, I got really excited about this one. I kind of went for it. I went with some of my roots. Went back to some of my roots in terms of outside of world building stuff that I used to do as a kid, and so that kind of got me really excited and in my feels about it. So I'm excited. You want to go first?
Sure. So I got really excited about this. I wrote about these smaller vessels, these smaller ships called the King's Revels. So in Avium, which is the more deserty area of Theatrim that I've talked about in past episodes, there's a giant river that flows through it. And what I wrote about was these smaller boats that are used in these great festivals in Avium. This can be for the crowning of a new king, the birth of an heir, or the like a great military success. Anything big, that's what these ships would be for. So these small ships are meant to move really, really fast, and on them there's only about 3 or 4 people, usually 2 people, to kind of steer the ship, and then the other 2 would be throwing things onto the banks of the shore. That could be coins, small trinkets, I think
flowers, rice,
there's
whatever.
Just anything that would just be kind of throwing things out to the people. I was able to go into some of the properties of it, so how rare, the length, the height, the speed, but I think going through here I realized that where most of my writing would be in the vignette. You can't really write too much about, I don't know that much about boats, to be honest, so I can't really write too much about that, but I did really get into what were they used for and why. And so something that I really got into was the design of the ships and why they were designed. And so before these great big events, these great crafters would make these boats specifically for the event. And at the end of the event, they would be deconstructed and basically just wiped off the face of the earth. Except for one. One ship is always saved from these great festivals, and so in essence when an heir is born, they have these great big ships that go out, and one of those ships is saved so that when that heir is crowned, that one ship from their birth ceremony gets to go out first. And then
So cute.
if they have, a great military victory, that birth ship will go out, and then the ship that they got when they were crowned that day will go out, and then this new grand ship for when they won this victory.
So it's basically, do I go so far as to say that it's like the Macy's Day Parade where there are people like talking about, oh, and look at that ship.
Yeah, so this from last year. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
But the big thing that happens is at the very end. So this part is what I really hooked onto, is this idea that at the end of a king's life, There'll be these. It's in Avium, these festivals, death isn't necessarily seen as a bad thing. It is just more passing on into the afterlife. It's more celebrated than it is than mourning. There is a fair amount of mourning, but so at a King's Festival, you kind of get to see the progression of his life through these Revels ships. And so I really liked that idea. And then the idea is at the very end, after, the festival is done, all of the ships from that king's life will be taken apart, and then that will be used as the funeral pyre would.
The kindling for the pyre?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Nice.
So just like little, I don't know, my brain just went and ran with that idea. I did go into a little bit about like maybe what they looked like, but as far as I wanted to give it more of a purpose and a meaning as to like these ships bring happiness and hope to people. They do bring the like the small trinkets and the rice and the flowers and things like that, but it is mostly
they're meant to evoke joy.
So you're looking at them and you're seeing someone's life kind of playing out as these revels are going across the water.
Nice. I really like that. It's cool because there's a whole progression that you come up with starting from a king's birth, necessarily with their birth ship or what have you, and then their crowning ship, and then all of their achievements you see in this growing procession of their life. But then when they pass, then you see there's no mourning ship. There's no like they're dead now ship.
They
right?
They'll have one ship that'll be like the grandest of them all, which will be where his body. It's kind of like that last trip, and
journey.
it'll be like on this great big ship, but it's not necessarily. Again, it's not a sad thing. It's just he's going on his journey, his last journey.
I mean, I like this specifically because of the detail that it has, that it adds to the world. Because when you look at certain cultures, we take a lot of homages from things that are in reality. There's a lot of things like the Skellige Isles in the Witcher series, where just they're essentially Vikings, and so they observe those Viking traditions and especially the Viking funerals. But I really like with this that it kind of takes an interesting spin on that because, as a player, you could be walking into a procession like this, or you could technically be from Avium or what have you, but just witnessing this as a canonical detail is huge because this is an event that everyone would know about in Avium. This is something that would be regularly celebrated and like something fun that follows an entire person from the beginning of their life to the end.
And it's just a note for, if I have people, like you said, as a player going into the world, it's a great tool to just be like, I feel like something that I struggle with my world building is having this, like, there was this age in the past, nothing, and then present. I feel like this really adds an element of time is moving and shifting. Like there is an equal past. There's a recent past, I guess, that still is alive and well.
It builds tradition. It builds the past without you having to expressly go out and say like the progression of kings or what have you, the procession of kings, because you have just said like in front of you. Because you have just like detailed. It's like I don't have to go in and tell you the past 5 kings. Just understand that they all had this happening, and that is something that has been going on for a period of time. And so the expectation and the tradition of it is massive, is huge. I love that detail. Yeah. That's super cool.
Yeah, I really liked this. It was just one of those where my brain just took this idea and just ran with it. So, nice. But yeah, that was about it for mine. What about yours?
So, for mine, a little bit about me. One of the things that I love to do that is nerdy in a different way is I enjoy a lot of car, like gearhead kind of stuff. But also, one of my favorite pastimes with my father is watching the Formula 1 races. I love the Formula 1 races. That is like the pinnacle of high-performance race cars that I really do enjoy. So I kind of took a bit of that inspiration into Ellecrid. There is a city called Munico. It is a free city. It is within the purview of the free cities, and Munico is known for its innovations in cuisine, fine dining, high culture, as well as high-performance racing. Now, again, Ellecrid is a high fantasy setting.
Right.
There's not like huge bits of technology or motors and stuff like that. So basically what I created is a racing chariot, under the purview of the, how do I say this, the Aerynetti Racer is what it's called, the Aerynetti Racer, owned by the Aerynetti Company. They are a large racing, or like sports racing company that creates these chariots to create these specific racing chariots, and they are essentially top of the line. If I can make the illusion, they are the Ferraris of this world when it comes to chariots. And I felt the same way when it came to the description. I couldn't really find a good way to kind of describe or go into detail about how the thing looked. However, what I did come up with was essentially, whereas all other chariots are very much, you would think, like the Roman or Egyptian style of chariots where they're standing in it, and they might be like smaller or wider or what have you, the Aerynetti Racer is like a sit-down chariot where there's like a spine that like is the apparatus that holds the driver in place. With the two horses in front of him. And his legs, essentially where his legs come out, is like is right beside the horses, essentially.
Oh, wow.
It's a very compact and aerodynamic thing. It's very low to the ground, and even like on either side of him are his two wheels. So
oh wow,
it's very compact.
This sounds like a hazard.
it's very compact, and they've had a lot of test runs. They've perfected this structure. I enjoyed going into so like in terms of armor and defenses, specifically for the fact that like somebody is going to be sitting in this, and you know things happen on the track. It is almost like a cocoon. It's almost as if they are sitting in a cocoon with this spine apparatus kind of serving as the back bracing on their head. Because they're low, they're essentially laying down upright. But it helps them, and it helps the driver to, you know, maintain safety or whatever. Also, this is for this racer specifically. They don't go around the world or anything like that. It's not that widespread. However, it is a big deal in Munico. There is this Grand Prix that happens yearly, and so the Aerynetis always have a racer in this Grand Prix at all times. Oh,
so not every chariot is gonna look like.
No. So people try to mimic the Aerynetti Racer. No one has gotten close.
Right.
So the reason for the Aerynetti Racer and why it's so good and why everyone like really enjoys it or really likes it is A, because it's like the fastest one. It's won the most Grand Prix, but also the Aerynetis have gone out of their way to like, you know, boost up the thinking and the image of the racer itself. Also, they've just incorporated a lot of different technology, but a lot of different technology from the rest of the racers. A lot of people are still using like those Egyptian or Roman style chariots, whereas the Aerynetti is very narrow, very compact. Like they have a spot for auxiliary systems, and the only auxiliary system that I really go into detail about is this turning spike. The wheels themselves are able to shift and are already at a slant, so they have more of a dynamic like turn radius and stuff like that. But to assist with these sharp turns that the Aerynetti can actually pull off in comparison to every other chariot that has to make these wide turns, he can just, it's lever operated, he can slam the driver can slam this lever down and basically whip himself around with these horses. In order to make these sharper turns and get around faster. All of this is meant to make the thing faster and more aerodynamic. It's very low to the ground, so there's less drag. Also, a fun little thing that I threw in here was the fact that the Grand Prix itself allows combat. Like, you can like try to stab at each other's wheels or whatever. The Aerynetti... The point of the Aerynetti Racer is the fact that it is supposed to be so fast that it doesn't have to deal with the combat. But it is regulation that they still have to have a weapon on board. So there are two little things in the cocoon for a javelin to sit. But it is detailed and it is well known that there is no way for a racer who's sitting like this to operate the javelin. So it's just there for show,
Right.
essentially. But yeah, that's what
I really, really like that. Now, did you get into, you talked about the cocoon, did you get to talk about, like, do they have Aerynetti horses, or?
Yeah, so basically the Aerynetis breed, they're Munican stallions. Munican from Munico. They're, Munico specifically breeds stallions for their races. But the Aerynetis specifically have a branch of their company, their family-owned company or whatever, that breeds specific stallions for this purpose.
Yeah.
So they do have specific horses that pull them. They don't just grab some off-the-line, off-brand
Right.
stallion. They're like, no,
The best of the
the
best.
best of the best. We make sure of it. We breed them. They do so many things. But yeah.
I like that a lot. I love the idea of just, you've got the normal Roman, Egyptian chariot styles, and they have to go all the way around, and he's just whipping it.
Deja vu!
Oh, no.
No, yeah, that's the idea.
Yeah.
I also just really like the idea, incorporating different things into the dynamic world that is Ellecrid. That even though you're in one part of the world and it's very, like, gothic, high fantasy, what have you, and it's like, oh, we have to, people in cloaks and trotting along the dirt path, and then there's a city that's like, yeah, we have races every year.
Well, and I really like that you drew from something that you know. Like, I don't know, this is part of you, and so drawing in with that and being able to use that, I don't know, I think that's really cool.
I always want to find a way to weasel in Formula One racing.
Right.
Just a little bit. Everywhere.
Just a bit.
Just a bit. Just a touch.
But yeah.
See?
I mean, yeah, that's all I got.
That's all I got. Thank you so much for joining us today. Let us know in the comments below something that you liked about today's video, or if you have an idea that you're willing to share.
If you enjoyed today's video, please make sure to hit all those buttons that everyone else bugs you about. We'd love for you to join our lunch table.
And go check out World Anvil if you're interested.
You guys have been great. I'm Kat.
I'm Arden13. I'm still waiting on that ramen.
We'll see you next time.
Bye!